All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to get started. Got a lot to discuss. Let me fix up a couple of things here and we'll get some people in. Um, hello. AJ, what's up? Billy, Jack, Iceman, JJ, Ren Silverstein. Thank you all for being here. We're going to start up on Twitter Spaces as well. If I can find the headphones. Where are the headphones? I just had them. Oh, here they are. And we're going to get this show on the road. We got a lot to talk about today. Today is one of those days where we've got a lot to discuss. Obviously, the biggest news of the day was, of course, 18 Dolores. We touched it. We hit it. $18. We ended at 1796 for the day. So didn't get to close on it, but still pretty awesome day in terms of what we got. All right, let me just set up the Twitter Spaces in 2 seconds. Let's do this right here. And then we're going to get started. Palantir hits 18. New products. Shyam tweeting. This is episode Palantir Daily 0021. 0021. So this is the 21st episode of the show. All right, starting now. Here we go. Hello, Twitter. Thank you all for being here. We are getting started with Palantir Daily live stream episode number 21. Of course, before we get into it, you know what we really got to do? We got to get the vanilla chai going. Of course, we got to get the vanilla chai going. Here we go. Got to set the mood right, the vibes right. I started at 9 today, not 9:15, because we got a lot of news. We got a lot of news to discuss. And so we're going to get into it. We're going to get into a bunch of stuff. Hello, Amit. I found Strongman Finance's channel and I've been binging it. LOL, he called you a Palantir pumping door. I love Strongman. I love all the YouTube dudes for the past 7-8 months. Palantir's bullshit. Palantir's that, blah, blah, blah. I love all of them. You know why I love all of them? Because the way I think about how I make content is I hyper focus on one of the most exciting and interesting companies in the world. And I analyze it as deeply as I can. I try to make it entertaining, but I analyze it as deeply as I can, which we're about to do for the next hour. And there's so many things to analyze. And those people just, criticize people who are trying to make content. I could understand if you're making content about AMC or GameStop or, this Palantir, Tesla, these are different types of companies. And I think, you need people to be able to analyze them because they're not easy to analyze. And so that's why I enjoy continuing to do it. So we are here. And we got a lot to say. Michael Wilder, hello. Long time no talk. Thank you for being here. Blake Anderson, 18, baby. That's the name of the game. 18 Dolores, baby. That's what we hit. Let me pull up the charts today. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about. First thing we're going to talk about for the first at least 5-10 minutes is the stock action price for today. I have a lot of thoughts on what happened with Palantir today. And so we need to discuss. So $17.96 is where we ended. Obviously $18.08. It was the high. We hit 1884 today? What? There's no way we hit 1884. Yeah, that was January 2022. I was like, hold on, wait a second. That didn't happen. What was interesting is, we hit 1813 at the top today. We broke through 18. Yesterday, we broke through 17, and we kind of stayed there for a while, and then we just break through 18 today. Do I think this is retail? Yes. I actually don't think this is institutional. I think the rally from 14 to 18 has been a little bit more retail. I think 7 to 14 was institutional. I think retail has been 14 to 18, especially because we're going up into earnings. Now, why did we get into the $18 range, right? Why did that happen? There's a couple of reasons. So to understand Palantir's price action today, we have to understand Microsoft. Microsoft added 80 billion Dolores of market capitalization within 10 minutes to its company. Why? They announced a new product called Microsoft Copilot Office Suite Plus, which essentially is a $30 per month additional subscription service that they're going to offer to about 400 million users that already use the suite of services that come with Office, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel, etc. And that Copilot is a AI-powered, essentially assistant, right? So instead of on Excel, there's all these formulas. Instead of like typing the formulas, the AI will recognize the formulas and just type it in for you. It's definitely going to be a boost in productivity. But if you run the quick math on some of these numbers, you do like 10% of people that are going to pay, and then you just do a quick little math, it's almost $16 billion of extra revenue per year. And really with like 90% margins, it becomes literally profit, right? On that, probably like 99% margins, because it's just software, right? They're just giving it to people who use the AI enabled, that use Microsoft Office. So at that point, Microsoft getting to all-time highs, not just 52-week highs, all-time highs today at around $360, $365. It's pretty phenomenal for Microsoft. My hypothesis here is that if the market is willing to give Microsoft $80 billion within 10 minutes because they announced a $30 subscription that leverages AI that they can have massive distribution for, yes, I get their Microsoft. Yes, I get they'll have millions of customers. I get all that. But the key thing here is, why would customers upgrade to this for $30 a month? Because it's AI. And so as a result of that sort of enabling of artificial intelligence to boost a market cap by $80 billion for a pretty big technology company, to me, is signaling to the rest of the market that this is just the beginning of market premiums on AI-based enabled companies, or companies that are in the cutting edge, the zeitgeist of artificial intelligence. Because if you can print 80 billion in 10 minutes, what can you do when you take it to a whole different level? I mean, we haven't even seen what Microsoft is going to be doing over the next decade when it comes to artificial intelligence. We're just in the early innings of this. So this is really exciting. This is really, really exciting. And it's going to be super interesting to kind of see what Microsoft is able to do. This led me to believe that Palantir had some upwards momentum as a result of that, and a lot of other AI stocks as well. NVIDIA, we'll check on them. They ended at 473. Their 52-week high is 480, right? So, I mean, $6 away from their 52-week high. Truist Securities has this now at $545. I think Goldman Sachs or something has it at 520. So all those price targets of going to 440 when it was at 390, those have been revised to get into the $500 ranges, which is a bit insane, right? But nonetheless, the market is giving a premium to these companies. And I for everyone saying, oh, this market-enabled AI rally is fake, it may be fake for some companies, and we're going to talk about that on Finance Junkies tonight, like specifically for different startups that are basically just licensing OpenAI's API and saying they're an AI startup. But for the real heavy hitters, Tesla, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google, this is real, right? This is like Internet 2.0 for these guys in terms of what they're going to be able to do, and the rest of the market's going to follow. And so if it was a joke, I feel like the rally would have ended by now, just in terms of like crypto lasted for a couple of months. I'm not saying crypto is a joke, but the valuations that some of these crypto companies got, it turned out to be a joke, right? OpenSea, $13 billion. It's NFTs. No one cares about NFTs anymore. It was a joke. This is not a joke. This is like, people are willing to pay you money for this, right? People are paying for ChatGPT Plus, including myself, because it's real value there, and it's only getting better and better and better. And then you think of it in healthcare, in enterprise software, and energy. There's so many use cases for it. And that's where I have never been more excited to be a Palantir shareholder in my life, given what we've seen over the past 6 months with the market momentum on AI. So for anyone who was wondering why we got $18 today, I think that was the reason. Also, underrated stat that people did not think about today, because no one cares, unfortunately, about our folks in the north that love their maple syrup. I'm talking about the Canadians. Okay? We need to care about them, but we tend not to care about them sometimes. Inflation, I bet you didn't know this. Inflation in Canada today came down at 2.8% year over year, and the market was expecting 3%. So not only did United States CPI come in much lower than what we thought, Canada, inflation's going down. Now Europe, the Brits, they got to figure their shit out. Their shit is off the roll. But Canada's inflation's coming down. That maple syrup's getting cheaper, baby. And so it's just more evidence around the macro that things are getting a little bit better. And if things are getting better, then that's going to be a good thing. Oh, Canada. Exactly, Showcat. That's what we're doing. Austin, couldn't agree more. Amit, you say if there's a 3 to 6 month lull in the AI bull run, it will just be a breather to let underlying financials catch up with guidance. I 100% agree with this. If these stocks stay flat over the next 3 to 6 months because, the market just feels like, all right, we've given a lot of premium to these AI companies, I think it's actually not the worst thing in the world, because now the premium gets to be justified with the financial performance of these companies living up to it. Now, some of these companies are not going to live up to their premium, and they're going to get slaughtered. It's just going to happen. I do not think Palantir is one of those companies, but the numbers will show us what's going on. If you're really an AI player, if you're really in the space, which I think Palantir is, it's going to be able to justify the almost $40 billion market cap it has right now. And maybe there's a little bit of a pullback because Q2 numbers aren't exactly what the market wants. But to me, that's just giving it more and more time to get ready to get to the valuation it deserves, given all the momentum that's building and its ability to take advantage of that. So honestly, investing in AI right now, I agree with Dan Ives, man. Like, this is the fourth industrial revolution. It is happening. If you're not educated on it, you got to get educated on it. I was very skeptical of Web3 and all these crypto startups. And I turned out to be correct on that stuff. A lot of that stuff was nonsense. I didn't have big financial stakes, right? I wasn't investing billions of bucks, but a lot of people lost a lot of money because there wasn't anything fundamental. I mean, at some level, a lot of these companies that were tokenizing their fundraising, it was like literally a pyramid scheme. Look up Axie Infinity and what they've done with their token, right? Like, there's many case studies here. AI is not the same, especially not in the big names, especially not in the names that are doing real things for real clients in real places, in real industries. So it's really exciting. Austin says government software spend was already growing double digits, outspacing all other IT segments, surging 30% year over year. This is before the push to develop and deploy lethal autonomous weapon systems. I agree. And that actually transitions us into the next topic today, which is Palantir's newest press release. Now, before I get into that, let me answer a couple more comments, and then we'll get into the Palantir press release because it has to do with the government spending as well. Hey, Amit, what are your thoughts on Anthony Lee leaving Palantir? So this is one of the former VP of technology, some senior level official at Palantir. I think he's not leaving because of anything Palantir related. He got offered a CEO position at a really unique company that I don't know how much money they raised, but it's a pretty cool startup. I don't even know if it's a startup. It's a pretty well established company from what I understand. But yeah, I mean, look, if you get offered a CEO position for your career, it's probably the right thing to do. So it makes sense. I don't think it has anything to do with Palantir. I think it's just better opportunities, and as a result of that, that's why he left. What other comments do we have? Palantir was about 13% of my portfolio 2 days ago, but don't have the confidence in myself to be an individual stock, so I reduced it to 2% and added to my world index ETF. Yeah, look, I can't blame you. It's a dangerous game playing with only stocks, which is why, by the way, there needs to be a lot of content and community created around an individual stock. Because remember, to the people here, it might not be that big of a deal that we're investing in individual stocks, but to the far majority of the world, we're crazy to actually pick stocks and be like, oh, that stock in the next 10 years is going to do well. Sometimes we forget we're in an echo chamber. Like, most of the world just invests in ETFs, right? But there's a subset of the world, I would call it maybe 20 to 30 million people that actually pick individual stocks, and we're part of that. And so it's not the easiest thing to do. But that's why, we analyze it as much as we can and try to understand it. Okay, cool. So we're ready to go to the next piece of news. We're ready. ET FaceTime. What's up? Okay, here we go. New Palantir press release today. Okay, this was a very interesting piece of news. This was a piece of news that I think was one of their best press releases they put out in the past couple months because it validated their market offering. And I'm going to do a video on this tomorrow to the Fed Start program. Josh Franklin says, Amit, have you written any covered calls to produce income on some of your Palantir shares? I have not. And to be honest, I probably should have been doing it at $6, $7, $8, $9. That's when it would have made more sense. But I'm definitely not doing it now. At, given the momentum I've seen, I mean, imagine you had $18 or $17 covered calls this week. Like, your shares are gone as long as it ends over that on Friday. And, we'll see what happens. But I don't want my shares to be taken away, bro. You're going to have to fucking kill me to take my shares. So until then, I'm keeping my shares, and so covered calls. I'm a little bit scared of doing it right now, but probably should have done it before. Zocold says why would covered calls make sense at 8? Oh, well, from 7 to 9, it was so flat, and that's what you need for covered calls to make sense, right? You want it to literally not move. So that's why it would have made more sense to get some income on that. But from now, the momentum from 16, 17, 18, what if it goes to 19? It's just with these tech companies, when they're in their momentum era and you're doing covered calls on them, it's scary because if it hits the level, then they're gone, right? So that's the only reason I wouldn't do it. And if you get a $22 covered call for this week, it's the premium's not going to be worth it, right? It has to be a little bit closer to the price in order for the premium to be justified. At least from what I understand on covered calls. Okay, so this was a piece of news. Zocold says this was underrated. I agree this was underrated as well, okay? So Bloodhound Enterprise from Spectre Ops available to governmental agencies through Palantir Fed Start offering. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to give you the summary of it. Basically, this is a cybersecurity startup that has raised $33.2 million, okay? Now, there's two pieces to understand here. The reason Palantir did this press release is because they said Palantir FedStart, a SaaS offering that helps accelerate federal go-to-market by enabling companies to run their products within Palantir's secure and accredited environment, will facilitate Spectre Ops to deliver its enterprise-grade defense solution to governmental agencies. Not just one government agency, not just the DoD, but to a bunch of government agencies. What does this mean? This means Palantir's IL Level 6 security clearance that they worked 2 decades to be able to get, again, only them, Microsoft and Amazon have that level of security clearance with the DoD, are containerizing different companies that want to use their FedStart, which is just like an on-ramp to be able to sell to the government, program that they announced a week ago, in order to get this company, Spectre Ops, to be able to sell their cybersecurity defense software to different governmental agencies. Meaning, this company raised $33 million. I don't know how much this deal is for. Maybe it's $1 million, maybe it's 500,000, whatever it is. Palantir is getting some money from basically just using the clout they have, the clout meaning, you know, the presence they have with the DoD, but also the technology they have, to be able to guarantee an accredited, secure, confidential container for this company that has none of the security clearances that are required from a regulatory and legal perspective to work with the government or to even sell to the government, in order to then be able to sell to the government. So this product FedStart, the whole idea of it was like, hey, we've got all of this amazing accreditation because we worked our asses off for 2 years to be able to get to this point. You've got a bunch of startups, a bunch of defense technology software companies that the DoD and governmental agencies, et cetera, want to buy from, but they can't buy from them because you literally can't buy from a company that's not even IL4 accredited, right? Like unless it's a remedial task, like everything in the government is so confidential and secure that you need that accreditation. Well, what if Palantir could just provide a platform to be able to use their, what they call container of your software in order to guarantee the confidentiality of it, but also be able to get you into that $100 billion TAM that the government spends on software. And then Palantir takes, I don't know, a 20, 30% commission, 10% commission, whatever it is. They announced this product 2 weeks ago, and this is their first client. And I don't know if they have other clients that they haven't announced that's just, you know, not public, but it's interesting because to me, I was like, this is a really interesting product. There's a lot of potential here. It's basically a consulting product with software margins here, but I don't know if they're actually going to get any clients on this. And today they announced that, hey, there's a tech startup that raised $33 million that sells defense cybersecurity solutions for the government, and they're using our shit. Now, why is this also important? They raised $33 million, which validates the thesis that we had $33 billion spent last year on defense technology startups. We've had $17 billion in the past 6 months, which means we're likely to get somewhere between 34 and 35 billion towards the end of the year from private VC money going into defense technology, which means imagine you've got $35 billion flowing into defense tech, and none of those companies can actually sell to their biggest client, which is the government, unless they have the accreditation services or credibility to be able to like literally even get into the door. That's a lot of money raised that could potentially be going to Palantir, even if that's just another $50 million in top line revenue for Palantir, basically being able to do nothing other than like consult with you and help you get started. That's pretty awesome. And like license their software as a container for your software to be packaged to the government. It's a sleeper on a piece of news because if defense tech spending continues to get higher and there's no other way, like Microsoft and Amazon is not doing this from what I understand, Palantir is packaging this as an actual product, then a lot of that VC money can indirectly just go to Palantir. Because if you've raised $33 million, you have a lot of money, you can afford to spend $1 million or $2 million to basically get your product through the door. So it makes a lot of sense to me. And this has huge potential. I agree. And it has huge potential. Remember, it wouldn't have potential if the private markets weren't willing to find the next Palantir, the next Anduril, the next CrowdStrike. But they are. They want to. Mark Andreessen, one of the most famous venture capitalists in the world, literally said, yeah, we missed out on Palantir. He said this at a conference the other day. He's like, yeah, we missed out on Palantir, but we're trying to find like the next, he said something like the next, you know, big defense technology contractor. They're trying to find them. And why are they trying to find them? Because of Russia, Ukraine, because of increased NATO defense spending, because of China doing, you know, their crazy shit in the South China Sea and potential invasion of Taiwan. These geopolitical events are influencing private money coming into this space. And it seems like Palantir is in a prime position to capitalize off that private money, especially if these startups are AI enabled, right? There's so much synergy there. So I think this is a really, really interesting thing for Palantir and for them to be able to go from there. Austin says there is tremendous demand for modules in FedRAMP IL5 and IL6 via our FedStart offering. We can bring these startups to U.S. government markets in weeks. That's a quote from Shyam Senker. Yep. Look, it makes a lot of sense to me, man. It makes a lot of sense. And it seems like this is the first step. Yeah. If this doesn't legitimize this company, I don't know what else will in the USA. And see, it's crazy because it's like this is the shit we're seeing right in front of our eyes, right? Like we're literally seeing this stuff. And this press release, I'm gonna make a video on it tomorrow, but like no one cares about this stuff, right? Because it's boring. It's just like, oh, Fed start, federal. It's like, bro, this could be the difference between an extra couple million in GAAP profitability or not, and then that will really matter. Because you showing 7 million in GAAP profits versus 10 million in GAAP profits because you got 3 million extra because you got a bunch of startups to literally just, give you their products so that they can sell them to the DoD. Like that matters at the end of the day. At this point for Palantir, every last cent matters because more cents on GAAP profitability leads to more cents for earnings per share, leads to the market feeling more comfortable with a outstretched valuation we are getting for a premium that we have not justified yet because the growth is not there. The market is expecting the growth to be there. Bank of America, oh, wow, we passed Bank of America's target today. We went from 13 to 18 for Bank of America. Bank of America is expecting the growth to be there. And as long as we show that growth, then it's going to be really good for Palantir. Andreessen was just on American Optimist. Yeah, I saw that. I didn't get to see the whole thing, but he actually was on American Optimist as well. As long as this doesn't distract from the civilian businesses, government is nice, but the broader private market has much more profit potential. Yeah, I think to me, their ability to go after the government is just they have a moat in the government space that they know they need to exploit because no other company has the moat that they have in the government space, and they should just suck it as much as they can from the government, and then continually use that as a form of leverage essentially to be able to capture the commercial market. The real TAM is in the commercial markets, but they need to be able to get as much money as they can from the government if commercial growth isn't as strong as it could be yet. Palantir story is unfolding right now. Just need to see the signals. Yeah, man, it's exciting. It is very, very exciting. And speaking of that, talking about exciting, I want to go to a tweet by Shyam that he tweeted out today. This is the CEO of Novartis, which is a very big drug company. How do you describe Novartis? Novartis does a lot of stuff. They do Novartis stock. I want to just they're $100 billion company. They get compared to how would you describe? Oh, Swiss multinational pharmaceutical corporation based in Switzerland, consistently ranked in the global top 5. Novartis is one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world and 4th largest by revenue. Okay, 50 billion in revenue last year, 103,000 employees. So it's a pretty big deal. Okay, this is a pretty big company. This is what the CEO had to say today about our little friend Palantir. Here we go.
Finally, Voss, when I talk to folks in your industry about AI, they think the potential in healthcare is one of the most exciting and most promising. Where are you and using that to develop new medicines?
I'm excited as well for AI to support R&D in particular. I mean, it's going to revolutionize just the basics of how we operate as a large company. But I think it's going to change drug discovery and drug development. We have one really fundamental advantage, I think, versus our peers. 5 years ago, we invested heavily and created an integrated data lake we call Data 42 with our partners at Palantir. And now we're leveraging that data lake to move AI very quickly forward in the company. And I think this will give us an advantage because our data is organized. It's got a clear ontology. And I'm hoping that will lead to new discoveries faster over time.
That's a whole nother segment for another day. That's really exciting. I did not realize the Palantir link there. Voss, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
For being here. Post 9 on earnings. Voss Narasimhan, CEO of Novartis.
Notice what he said. Notice what he said. Okay? He used the word. Everyone got mad at me because when I'm debating the bear cave dude, I'm like, well, what's an ontology? He's like, I don't need to know what an ontology is. Why are you antagonizing me? Because I don't need to. This is why you need to know what a goddamn ontology is. This is why you need to fucking know. Because when the CEO of a company that's doing $50 billion a year in revenue, one of the largest top 5 pharmaceutical companies in the world, says, oh, yeah, well, 5 years ago, we worked with Palantir to come up with an ontology to organize our data. And I think as the CEO of a top 5 pharmaceutical company, that gives us a competitive advantage over the other companies because now all we have to do is implement AI within the data warehouse that has been created via an ontology over the past 5 years. The ability for us to do drug discovery so we can make more drugs, so we can sell drugs and get more than $50 billion in revenue next year is likely better than the other guys because of the Palantir link. Okay, that's why an ontology matters. And so this is important. This is why when Shyam tweeted this, and I'm watching the video, Shyam doesn't tweet often, right? He tweets here and there. And so when he posted this video, for a CEO to say something about Palantir that makes him excited, and this is not, this wasn't a press release or anything. He was on CNBC at 4 p.m. He was just on CNBC talking about it. And even the host was like, oh, wow, that's a topic for another day. I didn't know there was a Palantir link there. The reason she said that's a topic for another day is because as soon as he said Palantir is one of the reasons why we're going to exceed in AI-enabled drug discovery, and she's like, oh, shit, man, Palantir, goodness gracious, these guys keep popping up. Like, even the reporter's like, damn, Palantir link there? I didn't even know Palantir was using Novartis. I'm pretty sure it's been public for a while. I didn't even know Novartis was using Palantir. So this shit matters, bro. Like this ontology stuff matters. There was, I would say 95% of people thought it was a good question in that debate, but there was 5% of people who were like, Amit, you were playing so semantics. Why didn't you get into the debate? Why were you asking about ontology? I'm like, bro, the dude said it's an AI imposter and he doesn't know what an ontology is. Do you think that's not an issue if the CEO of Novartis is saying, yeah, we have an like this entire word I've never even heard before in the context of like B2B sort of business development type of stuff. I'm hearing it because like when have you ever heard a CEO talk about the concept of an ontology outside of Alex Karp? Never. But Palantir makes this word a thing because it's like a real product they've created. And now all these CEOs, whether it's Hertz or BP or Novartis, go on live television talking about, yeah, we have an ontology. Jacobs, oh yeah, the ontology. It's like that shit matters, right? And so to me, I think this is part of the AI moat. This is part of the technology moat that can't be replicated. And this is ultimately part of the tooling infrastructure when it comes to artificial intelligence that is going to allow the LLMs to fundamentally differentiate themselves when it comes to drug discovery, which is massive, bro. Forget like the money implications. Imagine we're able to discover drugs at hyperscale. Because what is drug discovery? It's not that complicated. It's you take a shit ton of data, you recognize patterns in the data, and then you have a set of hypotheses, and then you have to test those set of hypotheses based on all the data you've done, all the R&D, which can cost billions of dollars, on the molecules. And then it has to go to FDA approval, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. I have an elementary understanding of this because I've invested in a biotech before, and I followed them for 3 years. So like I've been reading all the press releases, all that stuff. And they're on the path, the biotech that I'm invested in, to like try to discover a really important drug. And so it's a long process. If you could shorten that process from one of the first initial phases, which is the pattern recognition synthesis of like literally billions of data points, sets of data points, and you can make that easier, more user-friendly, more effective, more organized at scale. Like how many years could we shed off the process of finding a drug to solve Alzheimer's or something like that, right? Like this stuff actually does matter. And the reason I say it matters is not because I want to prove to myself as a shareholder, oh yeah, Palantir is doing stuff that matters. The reason I'm saying it matters is because if you believe Palantir is playing a pivotal role in the questions that matter in humanity, then the market's eventually going to give it the premium for doing shit that matters, like solving Alzheimer's, for example. I'm just throwing that out there. And shareholders are going to benefit from that, right? So this matters. This really, really actually does matter at the end of the day. And I think it's important to understand that. Some of the comments, all my friends texted the stock chat today talking about they wish they bought Palantir, LOL. I've been screaming from the rooftops in the chat for 3 years and none of them listened. Man, look, that's how it goes, man. That's how it always goes. It always goes like that. It's like, look, and honestly, you can't blame them, right? Because 3 years ago, if they haven't done the due diligence, they're not going to believe you on it. But everyone wants to buy at this time. Now, don't get me wrong. As excited as I am, I don't think buying at $18 is the smartest thing right now. Simply because, so this is where I'm conflicted, right? Maybe we can go into Q2 here. I am really not sure what the hell is going on in Q2. I kind of think Q2 is going to be great, and I'll get to the comments in a second. There's a part of me that wants to buy $25 calls before Q2, to be honest. Like there's a part of me, leaps, I wouldn't do it for the week of, but they're kind of expensive right now, given the run up, and like I would be paying a premium for them. Not a lot, but part of me is like, man, they're going to Q2 is going to be good. It's not going to be amazing, but it's going to be good enough for the market to be like, yeah, let's give it some more. And then there's a part of me that's like, I just don't know if the numbers are going to be good enough to justify $45 billion in market cap. I mean, remember, we went from 9 billion to 38 billion in 2 months. Like we've got to run up already. So like my head is saying, I don't know if it can keep going. Granted, that's what my head said about Nvidia, but Palantir is not Nvidia. So I don't know. I really don't know. I think I might buy a couple of leaps before just for the hell of it, just to have some skin in the game. And if those, tank, then they're 2025, so I'll DCA into them. But $18, it seems cheap, but from a variety of perspectives. But then you look at the numbers, you're like, there's no way it's cheap. There's just no way it's cheap right now, right? 52-week highs. You don't buy a stock at 52-week highs. That's not cheap. No matter what time is the 52-week high, right? It's just not cheap. So you got to think, unless Q2, Q3, Q4 are just absolutely phenomenal, then it's a hard place. All I know is on the next major pullback, if there is one, it's time to load up the boat. If there is one, and I still don't know if there is going to be one, but we'll see if it happens. Very interesting to kind of just see how it's all playing out right now. There is an AI imposter, but I don't know what AI is. Yeah, exactly. That's why I asked about Ontology. That's why I said I had to ask about Ontology. Amit, when did you start buying PayPal? I bought PayPal yesterday. I bought 8 2025 call debit spreads on PayPal. I put in $6,700 on PayPal, and I realized PayPal is a really good option. So last night or yesterday morning, I made a decision. You said the same thing at 15. Look, I wasn't wrong though, right? So I said the same thing at $15 that it's a massive premium, but you cannot be blind as a shareholder, okay? Like, this is a $38 billion company growing 18% year over year. Remember, this is binary. Either they grow and they justify the valuation and then some, or they don't. Like, the market doesn't give you this like frothy valuation because they're just having fun, right? Like, yes, for a meme stock, yes, I don't think Palantir is a meme stock. And if you don't think Palantir is a meme stock, then, and it's not AMC at 70, GameStop at 300, then the market's giving Palantir the valuation because they think Palantir will grow. And so to me, at $15 or $18, you're talking about $6, $7, $8 billion of difference in market cap with no growth because Q2 numbers haven't been out yet, right? So all of this right now to me is a little bit more retail getting excited about the company before earnings and dumping in, which we've seen thousands of times. I mean, if you've been in the stock market, like I'm not even the best investor, and I've seen this happen over and over again. This is happening with Tesla today. Kathy's selling, but retail's buying in. That's why it's at 290. It's not because of institutional investors buying this at $912 billion. It's retail. So either retail is going to be right, which they can be, or the stock has run up almost 200%. And if earnings aren't amazing, it comes down a little bit. I have no idea what's going to happen. But what I do think is that $15, $18 is a little pricey right now, given the growth is not there. Now, the way I'm wrong about this is Q2 growth is so phenomenal that 18 is cheap. I don't know if that's going to happen. If I was certain that was going to happen, I would be like, man, load up the boat before earnings. But I am just not certain that's going to happen at all, which is why it's very, very difficult to kind of do an earnings play going into Q2. That's the problem. Hey, Amit and fam, morning here from Australia. I don't know how to say your name. Let me know how to say it in the chat. Zales. Thank you for being here. That's such a cool name. Xalas. Thank you for being here from Australia. If you know anything about me, you know I love the Australian accents. I need to marry an Australian girl one day. I love those accents. So I love Australia. Retail is not moving Tesla. I disagree. I do not think institutional investors are... Bro, institutions do not like Tesla. Some institutions like Tesla. Ross Gerber likes Tesla. ARK likes Tesla. But Tesla is fundamentally retail driven. And institutional holding is like, what, 60%? Is it even above 50 at this point on Tesla? I think if you're buying Tesla at $290, you're not an institution. Please, I guess that's just my opinion. If you're buying Tesla today at $291, which people were buying, you are a retail investor that's playing earnings. That's what I think. Or you think 290 is whatever, right? 290, it'll be 500, right? Which you could be right about that. But it's a $920 billion market cap. And I think we just have to be a little bit real on ourselves that, earnings might be amazing, earnings might not be, but I don't think institutions are buying that right now. I do not think so. Then again, maybe I could be. Retail's moving a $900 billion company. Yes. Remember, the market cap of the company doesn't justify why retail or institutional. I think to me, it's a question. So Palantir from 7 to 14 was not retail. It was institutional to me because it's 100% gain. So Tesla from 160 to 250. Yes, I think that's a little bit more institutional, right? That's a lot of fun saying, all right, 160 is ridiculous. We're getting in. From 250 to 290, I do not think that's institutional. Just like Palantir from 14 to 18, I do not think that's a bunch of institutions before earnings starting to pile in. And most institutions don't even play earnings like that. I mean, from what I understand, most institutions, they get a position and they secure it, and then that's it. They're not like trying to play the earnings game like that. So yeah, to me, I think it's more retail driven, and we'll see where it goes from there. But ultimately, we'll see what happens. 70% institutional. Okay, that's actually better than what I thought. It was like 65 or 60. Maybe there was back in January, February. So Tesla 70% institutional. Those institutions, you would argue, have been there for a while. So I don't know if they're buying it right now at this price, but look, we'll see. Obviously, Tesla earnings are tomorrow. I actually think it's going to do well, by the way. People are thinking, I think it can get to 315 tomorrow. I think if Tesla does really well and Cybertruck and everything goes well, it can blast through 300. And it can blast through 300, not because of the institutions, but because retail really loves what they hear and they give it the premium. The hard reality, and same thing I think about Palantir, could it blast through 25? Sure. The hard reality is these stocks are up so much on the year. And so when you have that much momentum going into earnings and earnings isn't absolutely perfect, these high frequency trading algorithms just tank it. Like we've seen this happen over and over again. So, I guess we'll see what happens. Once Upon a Reset says, what are the chances that AI could go rogue out on the battlefield and slaughter a village of innocent people? Would that cause Palantir stock to dip? I think the chances of this are actually very minimal from the research I've done with AI and military ethics. A lot of the AI is not actually autonomous. It is autonomous artificial intelligence helping the decision maker make a decision. So for example, in the AIP for defense demos, their demos have been very clear. And the Time magazine piece did a good couple of paragraphs on this, which is that they can't kill anybody. They can't send off the bomb. They can't drop a weapon. They can give a command to a head general who has to ultimately press the button to get the job done, right? And so I don't think they're autonomous at the level that we think they are. I don't think it's being used like that yet. But as the targeting gets better and better and better, one could argue that there's going to be less civilian casualties because of AI or autonomous weapons. And so we'll see what happens over the next 5-6 years. But if Palantir killed a bunch of civilians because of their AI on the battlefield, that would be horrible for the company, horrible for the stock. I don't think it would be a horrible thing for humanity. But I actually think all the research is pointing towards the opposite of that, which is it's actually going to be way better because humans every civilian casualty so far has been because of a human, right? This is kind of the argument for FSD versus people driving. So now Garcia has a good point, right? The opposite to countering a little bit my point in terms of valuations, there is a lot of liquidity on the sidelines. There is a lot of liquidity on the sidelines. Why is there a lot of liquidity on the sidelines? Because if you look up some of these CNBC people that say S&P to 3,200, they haven't invested for their clients. And they manage tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. And they can't justify to their clients not giving a single return in a year where, let me pull up this chart. The stocks that hit their 52-week highs today are just insane. It's a ton of Spotify's up there. Netflix is up there. If you're not making some money in this market and you're a professional money manager, bro, you got to make some money, right? So they're going to come and they're going to compound some money into the market. They're going to bring some of those dollars that should have been at Facebook at $88 and Amazon at $80, and they're going to bring it into the market, and that's going to compound on some of these stocks, which I also think is going to be another positive catalyst along with inflation going down for the market. So some of the most popular stocks that hit new 52-week highs today: Microsoft, Palantir, Berkshire Hathaway, Netflix, Adobe, Chipotle. Chipotle hit a 52-week high. What's Chipotle price at right now? Chipotle stock is at $2,153 a share. In the past 5 years, it has gone up 377%. Past year to date, it's up 57%. What else do we have? We have Pinterest. Wow, Pinterest hit 52-week highs? I didn't know about FedEx, Intuit, MongoDB, ServiceNow, a bunch of SaaS companies, Adobe, Spotify, Uber, and Pinterest. Where is Pinterest at right now? Pinterest is at $30? 30, yep, 30 exact. It's up 1 month, 20%, year to date, 32%. I know Pinterest had a nasty decline a while ago at $19. Where's Uber? Uber's, I think, is at 47. Wow, I was exact. I was perfect on that. 47, 41 year to date. Wow, Uber's up 86%. Yeah. So, look, these companies continuing to get some momentum in the market is giving a little bit of credence to a lot of this liquidity that's not been in the market starting to come into the market. And that's benefiting a ton of companies along with Palantir, which is very important. Chipotle is a sucky burrito. I actually like their burritos. Okay. I enjoy their burritos. I sold my 650 shares up 90% at $16.50, really hoping for a pullback, probably taking the proceeds and getting to a full Bitcoin and DCAing simultaneously back into Palantir. Yeah, look, I think there can be a pullback opportunity. It's just the reason I'm not selling is because I'm afraid that pullback may not happen for a while, and I suck at timing anything, and so it's hard. It's hard to justify it. I don't blame you though. I mean, 1650 shares up 90%. That's amazing. That's absolutely incredible for you. It's just hard for me to justify it because I'm like, what if it keeps going? Like, at 1650, I remember I was on the treadmill last week and I saw it go to 1650, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And just the idea of selling all those shares, and now today it's at 18 bucks. It's like, you just don't know where the market's taking these stocks. And look, here's the other thing. There was a time to sell 6, 7, 8, 9 bucks, right? You're selling, playing around, DCing and all this stuff. Now you're in a momentum where you're in a market momentum where things are going up, and all the macro corresponding events are continuing to allow that momentum to continue. Inflation, PPI, jobs, etc. And so it's hard for me to justify selling it too much, but I understand in terms of taking the profits, especially if you just gotta get your profits in. Zokol, thank you for putting this in the chat. Please subscribe to the Palantir newsletter, dailypalantir.com/subscribe. The 411 people here, if you are here and you are not subscribed to this newsletter, it would mean the world to me. The content's free. It's on Substack every single day. 5-minute newsletter. It means the world to me. We're at 2,200 subscribers. I would love to get to around 3,000 in the next couple months. So please, if you're not subscribed, it takes 2 seconds. I know it's a little inconvenient. You got to go into the website, type it in, but please, please, please subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. And you can get an email update every single day talking about Palantir. 678 was not the time to sell, homie. I agree, but if you were trying to DCA or get into other positions, then you could play around with it. My point here is, like, if you're going to sell it at 17 when it's finally moving up versus when it was 678 and it was flat for a year, it's like, I don't know if selling it at the time where it moves up, which in an unconventional sense, it makes sense, right? To get the gains. In an unconventional sense, it's like, well, it's moving up. So like, let's just see how far this can go. And there are some stocks where this makes no sense, right? Because they might not deserve some of those premiums. Palantir is one of those that I think kind of deserves some of the premiums. And so we're going to let it continue to keep going. One of two things before AIP financial impacts in 4Q 2023, market sentiment, scarcity of good AI stocks and economic data. And second is Q2, Q3 guidance, keep Palantir elevated or violent pullback to rid weak hands. Here's the thing. That's a good point. If we have a violent pullback, I would say violent is $11. That would be pretty violent. If we have a violent pullback to 11 bucks, there's going to be a lot of weak hands that can't handle that momentum. Even people that are up from 7, 8 bucks that are like, oh, I got to take my, 40% gain at 11. I think that will be an opportunity of a lifetime, because that's when, 6, 7, 8, 9 already was an opportunity of a lifetime. And all of us didn't go in as heavy as we wanted to, because again, that's just how it goes. We've tested these highs at 18, right? It's not like 45 in a meme stock era like in January 2021. Now it's like real momentum brought us up here, and it comes back. Like, imagine Microsoft going to 270 right now, where it was at a couple months ago, by the way. But imagine Microsoft at 270 right now. It just hit 360. You look at everything Microsoft's doing, and you're like, 270 is an absolute bargain, and the market's just stupid right now, which is kind of what's going on with PayPal at 58 bucks and now up 20% from that at 74. I think if we get Palantir 11, it'll be that same opportunity. The question is just if we can get it there again, and we'll see if it happens. If it doesn't, it's great. If it does, then there will be some opportunities to buy some more stocks. Nah, bro, today I sold at 1804 in my Roth. I think my money will be better invested in my out the money PayPal calls. Well, you're actually probably right about that, Mike. I mean, I don't know the exact calls you have, but a lot of these options, especially on an undervalued asset like PayPal, which all it has to do is get back to like 125, and you could triple, quadruple on options. They may do way better than Palantir, because to get Palantir to, if you had your average at 7 or 8, Palantir has to get to 50, 60 bucks by January 2025, I'm assuming, when those options expire. So I think there's a lot of options that have a lot of momentum that can do really well. Now the question becomes, is selling Palantir the right option to do that? And maybe it is, maybe it's not. As a question of your liquidity, but absolutely, I agree. There are options out of the money on certain stocks that are going to do a lot better than Palantir over the next year and a half, just because those stocks barely have to go up for the options to produce gains, whereas Palantir has to show constant momentum. The counterpoint to that is we may be undervaluing everything Palantir is doing in healthcare, in energy, in logistics, with the government, and it may really be ready to have, I hate to say it, a Tesla-like S-curve. I don't think that's going to happen, but imagine that does happen in 2019 and you sell out of your Tesla, and then it's just one of those things where you don't want to miss that, right? At a high level. So now the probability of that happening, I don't know, because for the longest I thought there's a Salesforce trajectory, and then the Nasdaq's down 35%. peak to trough, and then ChatGPT makes everything mainstream. AI takes over the world, and now if you're in the zeitgeist of AI, you're getting a premium, and the market's ready to keep giving you more of a premium. The narrative has changed. The narrative has fundamentally changed. And if the narrative has changed, then the market's going to react to a changed narrative. And we're going to have to see what happens. All right, Twitter. If anyone's here on Twitter and wants to ask a question, please, you can request in the speaker. If not, I think those were all the topics I had. So we have about 15 minutes left. We'll do questions from the chat. I talked about Palantir hitting 18. I talked about Shyam's tweet. I talked about their newest partnership. We'll talk about the Palantir article that came out for the Fast Company article in a little bit. But if anyone wants to ask a question on Twitter, please request it, and we'll put you on speakerphone. We have 419 people here on YouTube. Thank you to 419 people for being here. And so you'll be able to ask your question in front of everybody. All right, so the article. What did you guys think of the Fast Company article? What did you think? And while you're typing your answers, I'm going to take a sip because I need to take a little bit of water. What did you think of this article? I'm going to take another sip of water while you're typing. Okay. This article was very interesting. I did a video on it today. Essentially, a journalist came up to me a month ago and was like, look, I don't know why the hell people care about Palantir. And I was like, well, we got a lot to talk about. And so I gave her an hour of my time. And we discussed all the reasons why I think people like Palantir. Some people, so the point of the article, for those that don't know, just type in Fast Company Palantir. The point of the article was like why people care about Palantir. A lot of people on Twitter kind of thought it was a hit piece on Palantir. And I don't think that's what it was. I don't think it was a hit piece on the community. I don't think it was a hit piece on Palantir. I think it was literally an investigative piece into one of the most interesting companies in the world that is perceived as an evil company from the average person that has a massive following. Because you would think if a company is equivalent to Nazi Germany and there's all these people making content about it, you would think the state of the world is like, what the fuck is going on, bro? Like, really? Or like, what's going on? But then if you dig deeper, you're like, oh, the company's not Nazi Germany. Shout out to Ross Kerber. And they're actually doing some really important things that's helping the world. And it's so misunderstood. And there's a community of people around it that are passionate about it. And the community that rivals Tesla's, you would argue. And so that was the point of the article, of just like explaining why there was this rabid community. So to me, AJ says very fair article. I think it was very fair. Great Palantir exposure. I think it was also incredibly good Palantir exposure as well. Because at the end of the day, they were simply talking about, you know, why the company, why people are excited around the company. They quoted me. They quoted Arnie. They quoted Daddy Carp in the Reddit and the Discords. They put these videos up. Like, bro, this is a mainstream news publication, like literally quoting our memes on Palantir. Like, it's great. You have to imagine that Carp read the article, right? The reason I say this is because he's not reading every article that I publish on dailypalantir.com, right? He's not reading those. But he's reading Financial Times. He's reading New York Times. He's reading the Wall Street Journal. He's reading Fast Company. Like, there are certain articles that their PR team, Palantir probably has like a couple hundred people just working on, not a couple hundred, I would say 50 to maybe 100 people working on PR. Like full, like all they're trying to do is protect the brand image and make sure shit doesn't go south. They're reading that article and they're getting to read our community perspective on their company, which is just insane, bro. And so I think it was a pretty well done article. I really don't think the article had that much animosity or anything like that. So to me, it made a lot of sense. He is watching this video. Of course. Bro, we know Carp's watching the fucking video right now. We know he's doing it. I already have positions in PayPal and SoFi, so now I want to get to Palantir next and diversify from FinTech into AI. Look, I think it's a good idea, especially for the long term. I think FinTech and AI are getting into a world in which so many, I think FinTech doesn't have the biggest moat, but I do think FinTech is so undervalued in terms of SoFi being incredibly undervalued and PayPal obviously getting undervalued. Square, I don't know if Square is massively undervalued, but I think FinTech doesn't have the greatest moat as AI companies, but they are undervalued right now, which is why there's an investment opportunity there. Austin says, we have an incredible people in the Palantir community, and we are passionate about a company that is so misunderstood, a company that is fighting for our civil liberties and trying to heal and upgrade the world. Yeah, and look, I also think that, look, we're investors at the end of the day. We're trying to make some money. How do you make money? You have an advantage over research. The Wall Street dudes that didn't invest at $6, $7, $8 like Kathy. I know she's not exactly Wall Street, but think about it, guys. All of us were buying it at $6, $7, $8. I used to go to the chiropractor a lot in 2022 because my back was fucked up because, I pulled something the other day or whatever in 2021, and the whole 2022 was like a little fucked up. And I would have these long ass wait times, and I would just be sitting there buying Palantir. $8.40, $8.30, blah, 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 but not buying thousands and thousands of shares, but 100 shares here, 100 shares here. I'm just sitting there buying these shares, looking at a flat stock, thinking like, damn, I wonder what I'm going to talk about on YouTube today. Damn, the stock still hasn't moved. Like, I remember a year of this shit, but I'm buying it. Kathy Wood managing $30 billion, having like the best Harvard, Stanford research motherfuckers on the planet in New York City that have to, or Florida, wherever she's at, having a competitive advantage over people like me, are not buying the stock. They're buying Roku, which has not performed the way Palantir has performed from $8. So you got to give it to yourself that at the end of the day, we're investors. And as a community of investors, we're crowdsourcing this information to do what? Not only to understand Palantir more, but to understand Palantir as an investment. And that's why this community and internet communities around stocks are so important to me, because it's not like the Lakers or the New York Knicks, or you're excited about fucking Andrew Tate, right? Like all those niche communities, there's no real benefit to them other than the community building. For us, it's the community building and we get fucking rich. Like that's the benefit to it. And so money is the motivator, right, of humanity. And if you get to make money with people that you get to have a crowdsourced unfair advantage in terms of trying to be able to understand the markets better than the Wall Street dudes that get paid millions per year to find undervalued stocks, and we're finding Palantir over them. Well, that's pretty fun in my opinion. That's pretty cool. And so, it's an exciting time. And so I think that's the point of community investing at the end of the day. That's the one that's the fun part about this whole thing. That's why I love doing this every day. That's why I love making content. Like, that's why I think people love consuming this content. It's because, number one, to get even a little bit more philosophical here, we are so privileged that we all care about investing, right? The 400 people that are here, the 20 people in Twitter Spaces, like we all care about having financial freedom. And to have financial freedom, you got to do two things. You have to either own a business to have long-term equity in something that you own, or you have to have ownership in a business in some form of equity, right? Like a salary can only take you so far. You can be comfortable on a salary, but I think all of us are trying to retire our parents. All of us are trying to actually buy that Tesla without having to worry about the monthly payment. All of us want to, start our own business one day. And in order to do that, you have to actually start your own business from the ground up, which is incredibly difficult, or invest in someone else's vision. Well, to invest in someone else's vision, you got to fucking know what you're investing in. And if you're investing in the Google, Microsoft vision, that story has played out to $3 trillion. Could it go higher? Of course. But it's not the same as investing in a SoFi at 9 billion or a Palantir at 5 or 20 billion, right? Like you have to have an increased level of competitive due diligence around your peers to even have a chance to think, oh, me buying the stock of this one company is going to return dividends for me tenfold in the next 10 years. It's not easy. And so that's what I think from a broader perspective, we're all doing here. That's what we're trying to do. That's what the whole point of content creation is around this game. It's, a lot of people say people are making content for the attention. I kind of disagree from that perspective. Like, yes, you want views as a content creator. You want subscribers. You want influence. You want people to care about you, all this stuff. But views at the end of the day, attention, it doesn't matter unless you're doing it for a purpose. I could get attention by making, a trillion Andrew Tate videos tomorrow. Because Andrew Tate is trending on Google. The algorithm's going to show it to some people. Some people will click. They might like my communication style. They'll be subscribed. But to build a community, to actually build, like I've met people in real life from doing all this stuff, to actually build relationships, that takes a deeper level of content, I think sophistication, entertainment, education, all that stuff. And it takes crowdsourcing all that information. And that's what we're all trying to do. A lot of my videos come from what people tweet on Twitter. And I'm like, oh, that's a great thing. Let's make a video on that. That's exciting. Let's keep talking from there. So that's kind of the fun part about this entire thing. I found you through Jeremy almost a year ago. I've been watching ever since, bro. Great job. And see, that's the cool part about having old Jeremy now into Palantir, right? Talking about it, making videos. It just compounds this entire community. To me, I would love to have thousands of people talk about Palantir every day, because all it does is give more and more brand awareness to the community writ large. I'm trying to retire Amit. That would be fun one day if a subscriber could retire me. All right, so I think that's it. This is fun. Shyam tweeted some awesome stuff about Palantir and Novartis from the CEO himself. I'll make a video about that tomorrow. Palantir hitting $18, new partnership with the Fed start. A lot of stuff going on in the world of Palantir. And we got a long journey ahead of us to keep analyzing all this stuff. Austin says, I want to retire my parents too. It's frustrating how long it takes to build wealth, but the journey is rewarding. I agree. It's frustrating in terms of building wealth. Nothing in life comes easy. It takes time. It takes at least a decade or two. But if you enjoy the journey and the process of trying to be able to do that, it's a fun time in the attempt to try to have some level of financial independence. Dex says, I'm trying to retire with Amit. I love it. All right, guys. So go get your beer, go get your drinks, go get your chicken, go get your popcorn, whatever you eat, go get that. We got Finance Junkies coming up in 5 minutes. Got a lot to talk about. A lot of Microsoft news, a lot of Apple news, a lot of Meta news. Meta did some crazy partnership with Microsoft today. We got a lot to talk about. So I'll see you guys there in Finance Junkies in 5 minutes. Thank you all for being here. Have a great day. Please subscribe to dailypalantir.com/subscribe. Follow on Twitter, and I'll see you guys in a couple minutes. Bye, everybody. Bye, Twitter Spaces.